Так, що тут є родиною органічних фруктів? Так, у нас тут початок уже. Наташа Прокопчук, наш партнер, писавський проєкт, надав нам такі торбочки. Сказав, треба розіграти. За що? Не знаю. Але, ну, тобто, імпровізую. Дайте, будь ласка, дуже важливе питання для наступного конкурсу. Хто? Кого є? От прям так, от прям...
Дотація органічних виробників,
Дотація? Дотація. Тобто субсидія, пряма субсидія органіки.
Тому що органіка по-іншому загрейська. Ви знаєте, гранти, давалки, нам перестануть давати. А на сьогодні мало продає нам
Добре, це питання про те, як ваші податки. Я говорю, питання, як ваші податки вам.
Ви мені повернули 30
Наталя, ми вділюємо сумки за надважливе питання на наступний конгрес. Так, перепрошую, да, там була рука. Прошу.
А у мене таке питання, може і ставити на
Які пропозиції на наступний конгрес? Бо я можу дати кому. Ви маєте на увазі, що проводити кореляцію між традиційним порівнювати з традиційним ринком. Тобто аналітику ставити акценти на порівняння з традиційним ринком.
Наприклад, нам приїхали туди і ставити дешеві продукти, тому, наприклад, там пилачі, то не змінилося більше, а по середньому чеку готували. І тому, якщо впало дітей, то і на тому прийняти впало, чи підняти.
Я питання почула, але я не знаю, що ви вимагаєте. Потенціал
я думаю, що так. Тому що це органічне землеробство, воно відбувається органічно, як правило, держава і громадська організація. І на сьогодні цей час, коли є органічні зміни, продукція працювання України, досить значна. І я думаю, що вона перебігти час, коли органічна зміна. Тому не забувати, ні, я не говорю.
Вона не органічна. Методика, це ринок для є дівчинка, яка
Пане забув, так, потрібно взяти вам всіх, так, скільки людей в нас буде багато, слава Богу, так і то. Сьогодні включаєш, там дали,
можна питання для наступного обговорення. Прийнято. І на питання коротке для наступного обговорення. Прийнято. Зараз я буду фіксувати ваші питання, а прошу пані Олена. Ми починаємо цю панель по програмі, я повторюся, блок відповідей ми пропускаємо. Почнемо обговорення того, що аграрні виклики стосуються всіх площ.
А де мої спікери?
Ось спікер.
Добре. Роман, просимо вас зразу. Да, можна зразу сюди, я вас представлю, хто вас ще не знає. Олена Іванівна. На місці, да. Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues,
шановні присутні, дозвольте вам представити спікерів.
dear audience, I would like to introduce the speakers of our political panel. Oh, I don't know what's the right name for this. It's political dialogue. Here we have Roman Slastyon, who is the General Director of the Association Ukrainian Club of Agrarian Business, and Olena Zupina. She is the key representative of the AVM Association, and she is also a Ukrainian expert in milk products, milk processing, and everything that is related to milk. Olena is a guru in this issue. Our political panel, unfortunately, lacks representatives of ministries for us to be able to voice our challenges. But today, there is only you, Marina, and I think you have a chance to become a historical figure because you participate in the launching of the law on organic issues in Ukraine. It has already been mentioned today that the law was initiated about 10 years ago, and you probably will be the one who will be implementing the law. And we do hope that if you manage to do it, you will be eating only organic products. So we shall discuss lots of issues during this panel, and you will probably note things down, and then you come back to the ministry and you say, you inform the representatives of the ministries what the agrarians need today. We should be united. The ministries come and go, but such people as you and me, all of us, may launch this historical process. So I hope you agree with me and Marina. We all look at you and we all rely on you regarding delivering our messages to the ministry. Before I give the floor to our distinguished experts, I would like to mention a couple of words on my part as a producer. I have identified the challenges which are related to the branches of power and which can be addressed and resolved only with participation of our authorities. So I would like to briefly describe these issues, and in case you have some specific issues, we are also going to mention it, but on the basis of those I have identified, I'll try to build a dialogue. I am related to 3 enterprises that function in the area of organic production, and they all face global problems, global challenges. Unfortunately, there is no mic. We also have another participant of our panel, Anastasia. And you'll try to ensure this interaction between different sectors. And we also try to integrate our sector into other business associations. Certainly, we all face similar challenges and problems. And now I would like to voice the first challenge. You know probably that our company, Organic Milk, has been present in the market for 9 years already. And with the beginning of war, we all faced some challenges. We have never been actually thinking about the European market. So we didn't have any ideas about us going there. But war made us think about these markets because the markets have become narrower. We started thinking about Europe. It was a long way for us, a complicated way for us.
Леночка, поможи мені з цим справитися. Ви ж з мене дивись. О, можна ще раз, да? Щось. Отож, бо ми пройшли довгий і тяжкий шлях, поки ми зробили
So once again, it was a long period for us. We were thinking how we can get to the European market. But we managed to do it. We managed to go to the European market, Polish in particular, and people were even laughing at us. Just bringing milk to Poland is similar to bringing coal to Newcastle. And I'm really proud of us doing it, and I do hope we'll make some progress. But currently we face a huge challenge. Milk market in Europe has decreased, and with the price that we entered the Polish market resulted in the situation that the market has dropped, the prices have dropped about 30%, and we are not competitive at all. Why aren't we competitive? Whether the raw material is expensive or something else, it may be discussed, but this is the issue number one. I don't know whether I will be supported by my colleagues, but whether the prices we have are not competitive at the European market at all due to their high self-cost. And this is a huge challenge for the dairy market. The next challenge, and it is probably not only for the milk industry, but also for some industries, but for milk industry, it will be one of the primary issues. So first of all, we cannot export our products because we do not have a good price. And also in the shelves of our supermarkets, we have lots of Polish milk products, and the price for these products is about 20 or even 30% lower than that offered by us. And we are not talking about the margin 20 or 30%. The margin is actually very small. It's just about cost effectiveness, but we cannot compete with our Polish competitors because their prices are lower. And what do we have as a result? We do not have export because our prices are not competitive, and we also cannot feel free on the internal market because organic milk products are brought by our retailers, and it is cheaper, much cheaper. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to a FiBL representative, and I offered new kind of cheese. I said I want 280 hryvnias for a kilo, and he said, "Wow, this is stupid. I brought cheese from Poland for 220 hryvnias." And it's really painful. We are not needed abroad, and we have huge challenges here. on the internal market. So Marina, please put it down, because this may result in a huge crash for our organic producers. We also have organic meat product. Currently, this is the only enterprise in Ukraine producing organic meat products. And even more, there are not many such enterprises in Europe. You cannot find lots of kinds of organic sausages in Europe. This is complicated production, yes. And I have requests from my foreign partners, for example, from the US, who request these organic sausages. I'll freeze it, I'll bring it to America, and I'm going to send it. Okay, you may take it, but we have what we have. We do not have a developed intergovernmental mechanism of export of meat products. We do not have it. We cannot sell it. And I'm talking about Ukraine, the country in the center of Europe that cannot sell its meat products to any other country of the world. This is a global challenge. Again, the Ukrainian market has shown some decrease. Unfortunately, lots of people in Ukraine are beyond the middle class margin. They buy milk, they buy some basic food products, but when it goes about sausage, it's not probably the basic product, and therefore the sales have dropped at least 30 or 40%. And it means there is no ways for us to develop. The Ukrainian market has dropped. It's very difficult to organize sales. The purchasing power of people is also very low, and we cannot export our products. So this is a huge problematic issue. We have the enterprise that produces organic eggs. It was founded 2 years ago, and thanks God, but, well, not thanks God, but the prices on eggs are high, the eggs are demanded by the Ukrainian market, the eggs are sold in the Ukrainian market, so everything seems to be fine. No way. Our authorities, our lawmakers have come up with the following plan. Since January 1st, 2022, agricultural products produced by poultry enterprises cannot be taxpayers of the fourth group. So the poultry business cannot belong to the taxpayers of the fourth group. I'm not sure who the lawmakers were fighting against, probably one of our oligarchs, but you cannot place the same in everybody into the same category, general taxation. And it's logical that some small poultry enterprise cannot survive. Okay, for organic industry, we are not small because we have some industry, we keep our poultry, our chickens and hens, but okay, I have 20,000 birds. Let's say in chemical-oriented enterprises, there are about 70,000. And for example, I also have some grasslands for my birds. It's expensive. It takes money. And I cannot actually fight this law. I do not know how to do it. So this is another huge problem for us. So it's about all those who are involved in poultry business. So here you see 3 companies and 3 global challenges. I think they are similar for all agrarians. What we are going to do, I don't know. Probably we can come to some similar to some common or joint solutions. But now I would like to give the mic to you, Roman, and I would ask you to share with us your challenges, and probably you may mention whether you face similar challenges and whether these challenges are topical for your association. Well, the problems are the same, 100%. Probably you have a bit more because you also have this organic component and the necessity to enter the markets to show and prove added value of these products, and undoubtedly it is much more complicated than our situation. Once again, we are facing the same challenges. First of all, we are talking about access to funding. This is something we have discussed today, and that's good that we managed to get a prolongation of this 579 program. It was prolonged. There are some new conditions, but, well, it's already a plus for us. And the donors actually provide a lot of things. So it's not like putting taxes from one pocket into the other. This is something we hear when we communicate to our European colleagues. They often ask how we can help. So here is the option. That's good that now this mechanism has been launched. My association, as a role, represents bigger players. We have a bit more than 120 members in our association, and we have producers involved in growing plants or animals, and they have lots of hectares of land. Also, we have suppliers of fertilizers, pesticides, seeds. So all players related to agricultural business. And we actually wanted to increase the limits for credits. So now it's 90 million, and the ministry offered the figure to be 180 million. And for the company owning up to 15,000 of hectares, this amount will be good. For smaller companies, definitely they also need funding, but they find some other ways. Okay, there is external funding, and the issue is that the interest rate should be affordable. Definitely, we can talk separately about our areas. With some areas, the situation is better. With some areas, the situation is worse. But I think that the bigger difference is with breakdown for the regions. For example, you cannot compare Lviv region and Kherson region. And one of the most painful issues we face now is the occupied territories in Mykolaiv, Kherson, and Kharkiv region. We should assist people with restoration efforts. We should make these areas live again because their situation is really very complicated. We definitely can compare their situation with the situation of people who are now in the occupied territories. But this is the second issue, which is important for all of us. We have to assist these people. Unfortunately, the accredited organizations cannot do it alone. I'm talking about those organizations that can do demining, so their capacities are not enough, but the sowing period is there and people go to the fields, and well, let's hope that people will not face lots of risks. So this is again the issue of aid given by the state and by the donors. So now we are talking about if the compensation program or, for example, the payment deferral program. For example, examination of fields should be introduced. For example, if the field is mined or not mined, but it presupposes some money. It presupposes lots of things. And the idea is that we have to promote this idea. And this is something I would like to ask you. Please join us. The more people will talk about the same things and the same solutions, the better. One thing is to voice the problem, another thing is to offer solutions. Yes, for example, when we have requests from the European donors, we should not just say, give us 10,000 demining machines because they have to make up a plan and then we'll probably get them in a couple of years. But so far we won't have anything. Right now, these are people with manual demining devices go to the field in order to clean these lands and bring them back to agriculture.
Говорили про податкові наші постійно зміни. Якщо
The
не раз
issues that have been mentioned about the fiscal issues, maybe we have discussed it for many times already, but those are the issues as well, the issues on the certain tax, well, at least providing some kind of a fiscal discounts. The fiscal discounts for the territories, for the deoccupied territories and currently occupied territories where the military action took place. There was a year already when our parliament has provided the minimum tax discounts for this territories. And if, for example, you are renting out the municipally owned land, if not being processed, then you cannot pay the rent for that as well. That has been a year already since this moment when this legislation has been approved. The government is still discussing which of the ministries should be undermining this, would be defining what other territories are. Like, for example, the Kyiv region, where we are under occupation on now. So it's an important issue that has to be resolved. There has been the whole story that the cabinet of ministries who said that we're not going to be identifying the list. We will give you the order of how it can be identified, so the Ministry of the Reintegration of the territories can identify themselves. Yes, but we need to have a corresponding law, like, for example, not the cabinet of ministries identified it by, that is defined by the order that has been identified by this report. We have this communication with Danilo Hetmantsev on how this legislation should be approved and who should be providing the discounted period for the land users for the certain period of time on the certain territories. But for example, we are right now having this Congress, but there is another Congress, for example, in about the fiscal reform. So again, I think maybe you have heard like that is called like everything for 10%. And because it's also being prepared, maybe you have heard about that. Yes, it would have been nice, but like from 17 till 10, that would be very good as well. But the worst thing is that they're only being broadcasting this nice part of this reform as if, like, for example, making the VAT, and the personal income tax lower. But the bad part is the bad part that's not being mentioned. That is also the bad part for the agricultural producers, because what has been offered is FiBL again not to compensate the VAT. So there was once again the story being worked, and also for the introduction of the export fee for the raw commodity. And no one will make a difference whether it's the conventional or organic corn. So those are the realities, those are the initiatives that we're going to be dealing with, and I understand that we're going to be facing them as well. Moreover, it is presupposed that we're going to take the unified tax of the group number 4. So we're going to start to have to pay over all the income tax. So, okay, then have nothing else to fight with, right? Yeah, so there are some issues and some discussions that have to be discussed as well. But you hope that the reason is going to win and to take the lead in this case, and we will be able also to have some words to say in this discussion as well. Because just to give it all, saying that we're going to approve some kind of legislation and we have billions and billions of investment, that doesn't work this way. We understand that it's not just because of our income tax like 15 or 18%. No, it's not just the only reason why we don't have the investment available. There's a lot of other reasons as well. There's a lot of issues that we can talk, and I can talk for hours, but I will pass the floor to other speakers as well. Yes, I wanted to outline that, yes, the global problems that we currently have in the war, then I think that we can now divide our problems in these two parts, the one that have been caused by the war and the problems that we have overall, even without the war as well. Because right now we have a lot of people from the agricultural sector who have been affected in the temporarily occupied and the already deoccupied regions. So I think that the problems that I'm going to be voicing out, they're going to sound as the one that are really not that important when we compare it to the people's life. But we need to support economy. We need to develop ourselves and keep on moving on to build a very strong state. So all of the questions are very important right now. And all of it, yes, Marina, you can take notes that what we need to do, we need to lobby all of the interest of our interpreters and entrepreneurs as well. So thank you. Do we have any questions for Roman? And unfortunately, we can't hear the questions without the mic. We're considering that, and right now we have a draft law that also should take down the tax for the force group entrepreneurs for the territories where they had military actions took place. So when this law is going to be approved, there's going to be two components for how the taxation is going to take place on the deoccupied territories. So there is the minimum fiscal requirement that has been introduced already. So there will going to be a discount for the paying of the land tax and for the fourth group of the sole entrepreneurship. And there's also the rent payment for the land in the municipal or public use. So that would be another factor that has to be simplified and facilitated with the fiscal law. So the year has already passed, and we do hope, and it's going to be just the first anniversary of this law that has been approved, we do hope that the mechanism is going to be created as well. Because before that, you either needed to pay or waited for the additional fines to be and penalties to be applied because you're not paying. And again, unfortunately, without the mic, we cannot hear what the public is saying. So it is possible. Overall, the mechanism is present. So it is about property. It is about property of the collaborating company.
Це є. Я не готовий зараз відповісти. Я думаю, що це питання, яке буде
We have
наступне.
this. I don't know how to answer that. I think that will be the question that we will cover next. So yes, we will be able, first of all, to free the territories, and then we will think of how we should deal with that. So yes, by the way, we've raised this question from our side as well, because there is a prohibition for the non-residents to have the agricultural land in your property. So even, for example, if you have received it as inheritance, you can receive it as an inheritance, but you will have to sell it to the citizen of Ukraine if you're not a resident of Ukraine. But for example, we don't have these regulations when we're talking not about the land that has an agricultural use. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Roman, for the questions too. We have more questions to Roman, because I think that it's high time for us to pass the floor to Olana. And we would like to ask her to also talk to us about the problem of the pricing. And when we're talking about mostly the pricings that we can see right now in dairy sector and what is going on in the European market, what's going on with the pricing there, and what it is that we're going to do concerning that. So Olana, please, the floor is yours. Okay, let us start with what we have in Ukraine, and then we will get to Europe as well. So when we're speaking about the dairy sector in Ukraine, and we know that it has been in a crisis for more than 25 years, and we can say about it from the moment that we regained our independence. Since the moment of independence, first of all, the cattle breeding has been one of the first sectors that the farms decided to let go. And if, for example, when we're talking about the 1990, Ukraine was in top 10 countries on the milk production all over the world, then right now we are already, we can boast our position after 50. Unfortunately, the war has all impacted at our dairy production as well. We have most of the regions that provided 10 out of 24 regions have either been occupied or have been affected by the military regions, or are there 43% of milk has been created in Kyiv, Chernihiv, and Kharkiv region. And I wanted to say that Kharkiv region has now decreased the production of milk by 57% in the overall production. As the result of that, we have lost 38 processing factories, and those were the factories that have processed more than 100 tons of milk each. We have fully lost or partly lost 100 milk and dairy farms. Those were dairy farms that had more than 300 cows and more. In Kharkiv region and in Zaporizhzhia and Kherson region, we have significant losses. We have lost dairy farms who had more than 3,000 animals. The processing, as we have seen that in 2022, have lost 1 million ton of milk, and in order, as the exports evaluation, according to the exports evaluation, in order to restore the potential, our dairy sector will require up to $1 billion of investment. We do understand all of the difficulties and challenges. As an association of the dairy productions, we've tried to support all of not just the members of the associations, but everyone who have worked in the dairy market, in the dairy sectors, in the deoccupied regions. We have provided the humanitarian support together with the Ukrainian Agricultural Council, with the USAID, with the SAFOSO Foundation. So we have been providing the aid for more than 200 farms. We have been providing all of the needed materials for vaccination, veterinary medicines when needed, the hygiene measures, the feed. So we have to understand that when the farms have been deoccupied, we just have to have a clearer understanding that they've had nothing. The best thing, they've had wounded animals. They didn't have the feed. In Chernihiv and Sumy regions, they haven't occupied those territories for a longer period of time. But for example, the Kharkiv region, right now, that is a very, very challenging situation, and the challenging situation continues. And I want to support Roman when he said that, because even those farms that were able to preserve the certain amount of their animals, unfortunately, right now, their fields are being now covered with the leftovers of armor, and they're not sure that they will be able to provide enough feed for their animals for the next years to come. So the situation can even be worse than it is right now when we're talking about the dairy production of Ukraine right now. Moreover, our association has worked as the aid center. We've helped the farms with the questions of booking, on finding additional new supply and the sales chains. So we have to understand that on the 25th, 26th of February, a lot of enterprises, they have just said we're stopped. We're not going to be working with milk no more. And what a farm should do if they have 20 tons daily, like, or you can just, give this milk one to your population in the first day. The second day, you're going to just spill it out. And then on the day 3, you will have to start thinking about something. So we have redirected the milk, and we're really happy and really grateful to all of our agricultural enterprises that under these harsh conditions were able to establish the quick processing and were able to feed the population of their regions, especially if we're talking about Chernihiv, Sumy, and Kharkiv region, when there were small enterprises that have been created in the framework of the enterprise, in the framework of the farm. And they've been providing the sour cream, providing cheese, providing milk for the population of the local communities because there was no other products available. And the farms that were able to provide the milk production to bake bread, and they were also able to provide even the meat for the local communities. And then let's get back to the question that Olana has posed about what it is that we should wait, what it is that we should look for. Let us say like this. So the European market of dairy products, it started to overheat in the very end of 2021, but at the very beginning 2022 was overheat with the pricing. What it was connected to? First of all, it was connected to droughts. There have been multiple droughts in year 2021, but the spring and the beginning of summer 2022 was really dry. The scales of the milk production in Europe have decreased, and the price for the raw milk in the market has shown the overall increase in 50%. So if we will track the cost of milk, the price for milk starting from 2010 to 2020, then we will say that there will be 35, 37 euro cents. July 2022, the price of milk was 60 euro cents. So the high price for milk, the high price for the processed products, moreover, during the summer and autumn periods, we have also seen the increase of prices for the energy carriers in Europe, and of course the inflation, which all of it has held back the buying capacities of the customers, and the European Union countries, they are the exporting leaders in dairy products, and they have been mostly working with the Chinese market. And right now, that this year, Chinese market is not procuring their dairy products in European market. That's connected to two reasons as well. First of all, the production of the raw milk is growing in China itself. And the second reason is that all of the processes through COVID that were held in COVID are also have decreased the consumption of the milk products in China. All of the additional milk has been processed to a dry milk in China itself. So China does not require additional milk from Europe, which actually caused the tremendous growth in price for milk, but in the same time, the decrease of pricing as well. So the price for raw milk, it spots. If we're talking about in February, we have seen this in the Baltics and in Poland, that it was like 29, 30 cents per liter. So right now we can see that on the spot prices in Germany, in France, in Denmark. And of course, for our milk farms and dairy farms, it's going to be really complicated. It's going to be really hard for, again, to enter the European market as we did it before. And it's going to be hard for them to work in the domestic market as well, because those products are going to be cheaper. So starting, if, for example, from February 22 to February 23, we didn't have the imports of butter, or we didn't have the cheese imports due to the reactions and due to the high prices. So right now, that's vice versa. All of the storages are being now sold out, and the Polish producers, they have thought that they will establish the contracting prices and the reservation process, but right now no one is contracting or reserving anything, so they have a lot of leftovers, and there's going to be definitely pressuring both the raw milk market and the final product price as well. So what we're expecting to see the decrease of prices for milk in Ukraine as well. But what it is that you have to do, and the slides doesn't seem to work. As the slide, yes. So what it is that has to be done? The practice has shown that in order to grow and increase production, we need to grow the demand. And in our case, we're talking about the restoring the demand. At the very beginning of my presentations, I've said that Ukraine during 1990s was in top 10 countries on milk production. So that was the very same years when we were the leaders in consumption of the dairy products as well. In 1995, the average consumption of milk for one per capita in Ukraine was 384 kilograms of milk. So right now we have 198 kilograms of milk that's being consumed per capita. That's even lower than the sanitary norm. That is lower than what the person should consume in dairy products for their body to function properly. And this is the lowest indicator, or that's the lowest indicator in Europe. And we're not counting in Russia. But if we're speaking about the European countries, this is the lowest indicator. So right now, when we're talking about the organic milk or conventional milk, what we have to do is we have to win our customers back. One of the draft laws that has been developed in the Dairy Association of Ukraine, the one that has been already supported, that has been analyzed in the Agricultural Committee. It is about the decreasing the overall fee of a milk and dairy project up till 10%. So we have believed that it's an important step because the overall VAT tax, decrease of the VAT, has stimulated the growth of the demand. Like, for example, Poland has had the VAT tax on dairy products up to 0 just to make their dairy products more affordable. And right now, what they have already stated that in year 2022, that was the first time that they didn't have this downfall, even though there were high prices, but they didn't have it due to the two reasons. The first of all, they have decreased the VAT tax for dairy products to up to 0. And the second moment is that they have used also the Ukrainian refugees. For us, there was vice versa. We have lost the people who have fled. We have a decrease in the consumption of the dairy products compared to 2021. We have spoken a lot that we need to promote the products, we need to talk to the children in the school, we need to do a lot of public hearings, we need to provide the research that is needed, because unfortunately, right now, whatever you're starting to read, and basically that milk is made out of poison. So there's a lot of people who are thinking about the lactoses and lactose, because we all are mammals and we all using milk.
We understand the government doesn't have these funds. Well, talking about grants, if some work is done in the efforts to bring Ukrainian legislation in line with the European one, then we offered a draft law on promoting milk products and innovations. The draft law has already been approved in the Agrarian Committee, and we hope it will be passed by the Parliament. What shall we have as a result? This is a model similar to commodity takeoff, American or Canadian programs. One business allocates some amount of money to promoting something, to promoting some products. For example, if we take the US, then according to their recent report, $1 invested into this program actually brought 2.7 American dollars. Great investment. Another important draft law, the law of Ukraine on trade networks. This is the law which probably brings together all the producers, not only from the food industry, because the conditions of retail, taking into account the problems with working capital and all the other issues, so all the challenges are really complicated. Therefore, the draft law sets the terms, not 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, and 1 year. But if we are talking about dairy products and its shelf life, it's about 10 days. It means in 20 days, you're supposed to get paid for this. And now everybody from retail knows how much the meter from shelf costs, what is the bonus system, what are marketing campaigns, and all this stuff. Apart from this, understanding that during post-war period, we'll have to be quick in restoring whatever was lost during the war, we try to update state construction norms, because the norms that are used nowadays presuppose that we might be waiting for permits for many years. Moreover, if you would like to build something using innovative methods, it means that your project probably will be doomed for failure from the very beginning. So the changes, this norm is also one of the top items on our agenda. And we all understand that we have faced challenges with human resources even before the war. In post-war period, the situation is going to be even more complicated. Lots of people have left Ukraine, not all of them will come back, and a lot of people joined the army. So developing our human resources, new methods, new training programs will be really important. And I think this problem is common for many industries and for many sectors. And I think in future, the problems will even get worse. And another issue we are discussing nowadays is the issue of broad partnership. This is cooperation and between different industries and different sectors. We all face the same challenge. We have to rebuild and restore our country, and our country has to be better. Everybody understands that the sacrifices we have made require from us making our country prosperous. And this is something we do within our association. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much. This is a very interesting draft law. Probably we also should think about something similar. We have been given recommendation to advertise ourselves. So probably we, the representatives of organic industry, will get united and do something about it. Because, well, you have to rescue yourself with your own efforts. So it's really interesting, and we'll be grateful if you share with us your experience. We actually may think how we can integrate this draft law into organic industry. A lot depends on us. We actually may involve and engage our foreign partners we do have some funds being given to us. Probably let's allocate at least some part of it onto advertising. Well, we definitely take funds both from importers and from Ukrainian producers. So all those who bring foreign products to Ukraine have to pay the same money. Unfortunately, there is no mic. Organic milk with us is not separate. It is included into reducing VAT rate and into intersectoral funding, and Elena knows about it. So unfortunately, there is no mic. Well, chains and networks is a painful issue for us. And our price, our shelf price, consists of different bonuses, all the elements which are added not from our part, but on the retailer's part. They also provide their arguments, and we understand that without state regulation, we won't be able to clarify all this, because when we have a panel and both retailers and producers are invited, the panel is transformed into the real battle. And there are some producers who are afraid of quarreling with the retailers, so they mention some negative points, but they do not mention their names. To be honest, we are dependent on retailers. There are 3 or 4 retailers without whom we won't be able to survive. And I'll come back to milk sector. For example, ATB chain. I didn't plan to go to ATB, but I have to. And recently I have made a very interesting proposal and offer. It was a very interesting case. How, well, ATB is a discount store, so I made an offer how they can sell our products. And I got feedback. It was given. And I will tell you the truth. I have to spend 35% from my goods turnover just for the fact of being present in ATB. This is during the first 4 or 5 months. Then they will have review and they will probably change their decision. It depends on them. So 2 or 3 years ago, they actually invited me to join their chain, to join their network, and now, well, I have to go to them. These are the conditions, but how can the producer give them 35%? I put 10%, and then dreaming about having 6 or 7. Lots of expenses actually are addressed, but the inflation covers everything. So if you don't like it, bye-bye. We should not forget all these blackouts and how the self-cost has grown. And I'm not going to tell you how we brought and transported milk products under shelling, because it should have been sold fresh, and how we sold it on the street markets when the networks were closed because of blackout. So I'm not going to mention it, but this was the experience of ours. I would like to probably sum up. Our first big challenge is the war, which will be over with our victory, and it will be our victory, because without this, everything actually is on decrease. And the second point, we have to popularize healthy lifestyle, healthy nutrition, and milk that was consumed by our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And I remember my grandmother saying, so for example, if a mother is breastfeeding a child and the child has a runny nose, breast milk was used to just as drops for the nose. So we have to give this message, to deliver this message, but we should do it in cooperation with the state because our own efforts are not enough. We have to ensure the synergy between business and the state. I hope you will all agree with me that the state has a chance for the future only if the state has healthy population, healthy nation. Only having a healthy nation will be able to build a prosperous and very positive future for Ukraine. And there is no other way of doing it. I have not mentioned it on the slide, but now we start working on bringing back school milk program because we understand that the children children's health deteriorated because of the war, and we are ready to support the program. So we are very active in this area and we are supported by the Ministry of Agriculture. We are very grateful for this. Now everybody understands that a glass of milk should be included into everyday diet of all the children. And by doing this, we'll bring up our future consumers. Thank you. Are there any questions to Olana? This is an exclusive opportunity. If you have any questions about milk, you're welcome, or you may approach our speaker after the panel. Thank you. Thank you, Olana. Dear colleagues, probably you would like to add something. Probably there is some other problems which have not been voiced today. So if we voice it, we'll be able probably to generate some solution. Yes, the political level is important, undoubtedly. Unfortunately, there is no mic.
Ну, ні, Олена розказала про рішення, в принципі.
Olena has mentioned a number of solutions, but if we ask Roman, well, we are not drastically different from something else. Organic products also belong to agriculture, and the challenges we have mentioned today are common challenges. So the problems he raised, the problem we raise are just the same. There is just one big problem. This is the war, but unfortunately, we, with our own efforts, won't be able to do something about it. We have to get united. Unfortunately, there is no mic.
Федерація чи органічна Україна, Федерації раз. Коли ми об'єднані, багато розповідає. Це моя така політика, у нас сьогодні 3 чи 4 такі окремі напрямки організації, так? Хотілося б, щоб ми їх змогли об'єднати. Якраз сьогодні Україна об'єднала. Ми побачили, як піднявся весь люд, від малого до великого, дітки маленькі, щось там в'яжуть, прийдуть, грають, дітки піднімати, а жовто, так? Плакать хочуть, так? Тому давайте ми це зробимо приклад з тих маленьких дітей. І будемо більше регулювати високі сьогодні. Пане Марини, АПК. На жаль, його розвалили, і це дуже прикро. Да? Сьогодні навіть АПК, ви запитаєте, яке повинні робити. Їм, ні, тут не ваша. Вона того тих попередників, що закрили, це треба в аграрній країні і думати, закрити Міністерство аграрної сільськогосподарської.
Ask the speaker to use the mic, please.
Контрабасами все. А ви подивіться, які розрахунки. Все по формі 2. Які податки? Це ми платимо податки, бо ми офіційно все продаємо. А інші на сайт заходиш, продаж зерна, все форма 2, форма 2, форма 2. А потім десь форма 1, а ні, ми накладемо. Питання дуже багато. Між іншим, з цим ніхто не бореться.
Абсолютно підтримую. Тут рішення воно просте. Це знову ж таки, чим більше
I fully agree with you, and we understand that the more we're going to talk about that, the more we're going to voice out those ideas as a unified opinion, as the unified solutions, then the more chances we have that we're going to be heard. That's quite easy. But yes, we have to stand united. We will have to find this joint solutions. As one of the solutions that have been presented, for example, with the draft law, the united stand. And unfortunately, the replic from the audience is not audible without the microphone. Yes, yes, there are. We have people who are lobbying the interest of the dairy product, of the dairy producers, for sure. The issue was that what we need to do right now is we have to learn how to study how to promote and lobby our interest inside of our state, inside of Ukraine, because I do believe that we're not far away from the times when we're going to become the members of the European Union. And then as a state, we're going to have to be lobbying the interest of our state as well. No one is going to give us nothing in the overall market unless we're going to voice out our interest as well. So when I was talking to my colleagues from Germany, from France, from other countries, what they're saying straight away that we have our office in Brussels. So, in Brussels, we have the office, we have 2 or 3 lawyers in the Brussels who are working on getting the quotas for us, we're getting the money for us. Because, for example, I'm not going to be speaking for the organic sector, I can only speak on the dairy sector overall. So, for example, if Poland has been working on the dairy issues, then in 5 years, starting from year 2013 up to 2018, they have received 29 billion euro of this technical support, of technical aid they have received for the dairy sector. But there was for dairy sector, for both the growing and the processing. So there's $29 billion of the support that should not be returned, but that's only because they have lobbied that. In the same time, there was also the Romania and Bulgaria and Hungary that has become the member of the European Union at the same time. And the Baltic countries have joined the European Union as well, but they've never received the same amount of support. So we need to learn how to lobby our interests as well, because if we will not learn how to do that, we will not be seen in the markets. Let us say we're not being expected there in the markets. Yes, and if we're now, we need to learn how to stand and how to protect our interests inside of Ukraine, and we have to learn how to deal and how to survive in the European market, because there's going to be completely different conditions. And especially for us, the European market is going to be open a little bit earlier than we're going to be the member of the European Union. So we have to start doing this now. And unfortunately, no mic is used again, so we cannot hear what is being said. If we're using the potential that we have, I do believe that if you will analyze your marketing budget, each and every one of you, and for example, if you will also consider if you have a specific provision on the trend promotion, the idea promotion, not just in promoting the product, but the idea. I would think that you will be seeing that you have not invested anything into this idea promotion. But if to do that intentionally, then it works. And it's just about the time span of 3 years. You can change the trends. You can do that, and that's real. That's just the different amounts of allocation of the resources, that different way how you can going to be used. That's very effective if you know what is it that you want. If you're looking for the right people to support that, the one that professionally know the markets. And right now the chains, and I mean not the chains, but I mean the network, the web is giving us the opportunity to do that hasn't been available for us in 5-10 years ago. We can create a positive trends right now with a year. Yes, right you are. So that is why we need to think of how can we find this really good marketer for organic Ukraine, how we can find this and to lobby our interests as well is all of the directions with the social media, with media, because right now, yes, there's social media when you can already launch the organic trend there. So that's very important for us nowadays.
Так, дякую. Хто доживе
Yes,
через
for example, if on the next panel, on the final moment when we're going to be also talking about the demand and the offer, when you have joined our today's Congress, you have chosen as well whether you provide the service or do you need some kind of service. You have already chosen this. So the most of the services that are being provided are the exports. So there is the most of the exporting organization, but what is the most needed service is the marketing services. So those are the most leading service. So you can see there's a lot of organization who can help you with the experts, but there's some that what is needed is marketing. They do not have it. I can ready to continue, but we will have to now already sum up. Yes, Anastasia, as an expert from marketing, can you also add something up? Yes, so maybe in organic or Ukraine, like been, I really like the phrase that you have said. I'm responsible for the marketing in Arnica, and I've really liked the phrase, and it's really a pain point for me as well. So what you have said, that we have the resource that we are investing into the human resources and the promoting the trend, the brand, and understanding what Arnica is for the world. But I do understand that still, and I do believe, and maybe I can also say that we're not doing that enough. And I think that everyone should start doing that. And Organic Ukraine as association, as our main voice, maybe we can also uh, make our voice heard. Maybe we can create a committee so that we would join all of our efforts. So we will be able to join our European community, and maybe we will be also be able to continue this promotion of the Organic Ukraine trend and brand, because we don't have the idea of organic Ukraine as the trend, as the overall trend. Ukraine has set up a certain trend due to the war that is happening right now. We are also being this. So this organic Ukraine in action. So yes, we're underusing this news wave that we currently have. And as a company, we also join that, and we're trying to do everything that is in our power to promote Ukraine on the stage. And we would like to invite everyone to join us as well. Please make notes. If, for example, we have known and understood the role of Ukraine as an agricultural country in a good understanding of this word, due to our soils, because of our soils. But right now, what is the situation that we currently have in Ukrainian markets? We are importing technologies from all over the world for the Ukrainian soils. Can you imagine what kind of nonsense is that? Can you imagine what kind of technologies can be taken from abroad for those countries that are not aware of what the Black Earth is, what the peculiarities of the soil is, and we're exporting the technologies for the soil processing there? I do believe that it is nonsense. I think that it's a complex question. There's a lot of things that we can say about that, but what I wanted to mention about this as well. So you're talking about this trend, the trend of organic Ukraine as well. What we are talking about, we're talking about the export potential of Ukraine. Never in my life, I was surprised, but I have never heard that, like, for example, that technology and, for example, the land processing technology can be exported from Ukraine, because I might be mistaken, but when we have the 90% of the Black Earth of the world have been processed by the Ukrainians, because of the when you have the Black Earth, we have Ukrainians, we have the Paraguay, we have Canada, we have the in the Far East, and in the later in South America, we have a lot of great potential of our land processing systems. And yes, of course, I'm like, no, not saying like to put the borders, but we need to have some Ukrainian trends that no one has even tried to share. Or let us say, not that just packed that into the right way and into the right branding, promoted that as well. Can you introduce yourself, please? I am the president of the Yaros company. I think that maybe you might have seen some of the ideas that's about our products on the orchids. Yes, I just bought it last week, the organic seed. That's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to get you acquainted. I am the president of the Yaros company. I am the owner of the company, and I'm the author of the product of Yaros. Yes, I really hope my orchids to be great. Yes, so right now I have been already provided my operational business to my son, who is old enough to know to do that. And right now I'm working within our R&D department. So I am thinking about what kind of a company we're going to be tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted just to note down, I was really surprised when a week ago in the epicenter shop. So Santa, I wanted to buy some fertilizer for my flowers, and then I've seen like organic standard, certified Yaros. That was very cool. It's a pleasure to meet you. Yes, okay. About the additional opportunities about the plants is going to be the next panel. So I would like to ask Olena maybe to close this panel already. You will thank you to our experts. Yes, thank you, Olena. Thank you, Roman. I do hope that everything that we have spoken about at this panel today will be real and is going to be born into this lovely child who is going to mature nicely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We have the final discussion and export part for today, but I do believe that it's a very important thing to the end, because I do believe it's a baseline discussion for us, because it's about the soils. I'm going to pass the floor to the moderator of our discussion. And it's a pleasure for me that you have stayed with us. That's really good. After this panel, we're going to give the floor and we will talk about what we desire from one another, and we're going to have a glass of wine as well. So please do stay with us. So yes, today we're going to be discussing the issues of soils. Here you will. So we're going to talk about the soils. We're going to be talking about the soils and what is going to be the situation with the soils in 2023, what the organic bodies should know. And I would like to invite our two speakers today to help me. We'd like to ask Maria Belkinova, who is the professionals on sustainable land use from EcoD organization, and please welcome Yulia Mironova, who is the researcher on the crop protection from the BTU Center company. And also would like to ask you to turn my presentation on. And let us start then. We're going to start with the overall health of soils. What is the situation right now and what should we get prepared of? Because everything starts with soil. And in organic soil, there is an important role for the soils because the certification of the organic farm is start with the sampling of the soil. The clicker doesn't work. Due to the lack of the strategy of the land use, due to the violation of the land use laws, the ecological balance, due to the pollution and the disbalance of nutrients, the humanity has faced the problems of the degradations of the soil. And this is the big problem, or the problem for the global problem, because right now 25% of the soils of the world have been deteriorated. And every year, our planet loses 24 billion tons of the soils. Due to the exhaustion of the resources, almost 3.2 billion people are affected. And if we're going to continue with the very same trend up to 2050, we're going to have 95 degraded soils, the percent of degraded soils in the world. The biodiversity is very important for the increase of the resilience of the economy as well, because every dollar that is going to be spent for the improvement of environment is going to result in $9 of the economic benefits. Moreover, this change of the production and land agricultural use can give us additional $4 trillion a year for the new business ideas. And moreover, that might help the social and ecological harm that might cost us trillions of dollars. Of course, we understand that the problems of degradation and deterioration of the soils has also been a big problem for Ukraine as well. For our country, the situation is even worse because the 33% of all of the soils of Ukraine has already been degraded, tremendously degraded. And for the last 130 years, our soils have lost around 30% of the humus. And the representatives of the BTU centers, they have provided the survey among the Ukrainian agricultural farmers, and 50% of the surveyed have mentioned that they have seen the processes of deterioration of the soils in their farms. As evaluated by the experts of the National Agricultural Science of Ukraine, then by the end of 2022, the level of the arability of the lands in Ukraine was one of the highest. It was on the level of 54%, and in some regions it even reached the level of 70%. That's the overall the amount of the arable land has been on the level 35%. And you can see that on the diagram that in France, that's on the level of 36%, in England, in 18.5%, in the US, that is 20%. The overall losses due to the deterioration of the soils is around 28 billion hryvnias. And due to the losses of the humus and other nutrients, we're losing up to 28 billion hryvnias annually. Through the loss of yields and the loss of their soils due to erosion to the level up to $22 billion. When talking about the acidity and pollution, there's a number of our resources are already in the deteriorated situation with the trend decreasing. There's a lot of legislative initiatives that exist all over the world that are targeting the problems of the deterioration of soils. So there is the new Green Deal, the product strategies from field to table strategies. There's multiple other strategies to support these directions. The Soil Observatory, the Horizons program. There's also a global diversity program, convention of biological diversity, the global soil monitoring of the European soils already exist, and the soil bond already been approved. And because Ukraine is synchronizing our programs with the European Union, we do hope that in short-term perspective or in the long-term perspective, the direction of once again revitalizing soils is going to be one of the most important directions for the development in our country as well. The BTU Center, together with the Organic Ukraine NGO, have created a strategical committee on restoring the productivity of Ukrainian soils. the main goal for creating this kind of committee was to create a unified platform for the sustainable partnership between the state, businesses, academia, and education, so that we would be able to raise all of the questions that we currently have connected to the soils, and so that we would be able to reach the joint solutions on actually finding the best resolutions for these questions. And in the framework of our activities, we have conducted a conference on recovery of the soils. The main goals for our strategic committees are, first of all, creating and promoting the conscious treatment of the soils by the land users, understanding that it is an irreplaceable resource, participating in the educational program, promoting the rational usage of the soils, decreasing the pesticide and agrochemical pressure by using the environmental friendly solutions, providing the effective and ecologically grounded and augmented processing systems, creating the unified monitoring system so we will be able to respond effectively for the negative measures. Updating the systems and management that signal the health of the soils, and creating the state activities that will support the organizing of the processes of revitalization of the soils. As far as the main reasons for the deterioration of the soils are anthropogeneous, that means that with our joint efforts, we hope that we will be able to reach certain positive results and certain positive development for the recovery of this problem. The one thing that I've wanted to outline as well is that we all know, we all have been through that situation, and we understand that this is a big challenge for our country right now is the ongoing war. And of course, the military actions have also affected the soils as well. And ECODIA, the NGO, has made a very in-depth analysis of how the military actions have impacted the soils of Ukraine. They have conducted this analysis and they provided their recommendations. And today, Maria is going to share with us the results of this analysis and going to give us the understanding what kind of recommendations they have prepared for us. So please, Maria, the floor is yours.
Дуже дякую усім.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here and present you the results, the findings of our research. This survey has been done together with the scientists who specialize in geochemistry of landscape. This is the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. And today I'll tell you about the way the warfare influences the soil. Somehow the slides do not switch. I would like to tell you about our public organizations, EcoDia, EcoAction. It brings together the public activists around one topic, protection of the environment. The key topics of our organizations is sustainable energy transition, lands, agriculture, and energy issues. We have a special project called Land Metrics, which was launched before the war, and we try to get data on the concentration of land with one owner. So this is something we did before the war, but since the 24th of February, we have changed our focus and we have concentrated on land pollution and restoration of lands. So today we are discussing the influence of warfare on soils. I'll give you some general information about the pollution we face, the things we have identified within our survey, and we also had specific examples of communities, and we were analyzing the types of pollutions and how these types of pollutions can be addressed. Some general information. I think you all understand what kind of influence or impact war can have on soils. Here you see some of such impact, but the list is not exhaustive. For example, here we see the fortification that influence the soils. Also, we see the mining impact. Approximately 30% of territory is the risky agriculture areas. We also see the craters, the movement of vehicles, and the burned lands. These are all the factors that have impact on the soils. Here you see the scheme, a very detailed one, providing information about main impacts and factors. The key impacts are mechanical, physical, and chemical, and their consequences. If we briefly discuss each of these types, the mechanical impact on Ukrainian soils results from movement of heavy or armored vehicles. As a result, the soils become more dense, and again, biodiversity is lost in the area, and mechanical impact comes from bombardment disturbance, and the upper part of soil surface is being deformed. So due to mechanical influence, we have deformation of soils. And when we see these craters from the mines or bombs, we see this direct impact, mechanical impact. And as a result, we may face later density of soils and pollution of the territory. Then physical impact may be characterized by vibrations, thermal pollution, as well as radioactive pollution. So, for example, vibration impact comes from energy impulses influencing the soils, which may result in enhanced density of the soils. When there is explosion, there are changes in temperature, and it may negatively affect the biota in soils. And radioactive pollution is one of the most destructive types, and let's hope it won't happen in Ukraine. But as a result, if it happens, it will have physical impact on soils. Then chemical impact. Chemical pollution may be caused by fuel and oil products, also from explosive materials and substances, because we understand that these substances have different components than heavy metals, and all these things penetrate into Ukrainian soils and causes fertility loss. And even before soil degradation was a critical issue for us, now the problems will be accelerated. I'm talking about degradation and erosion of soils. So this is a complex issue. And we are not talking exclusively about environmental issue influencing biodiversity or pollution, but if we are talking about chemical impact, there is migration of these pollutants from soils into vegetation, because when there is explosion, 30% of these explosive gases is sprayed in the air, but the other 70% penetrate into the soil, and they do not stay in the soil. These substances can migrate. They can migrate both into vegetation or into groundwaters. And this is a complicated issue. And for example, in our research or in our survey, we have also studied this issue, migration of these pollutants. And every case should be treated individually. We should consider the composition of soils, pH of soils. These figures are individual, but for example, among agricultural cultures, the heavy metals are mostly present in leaf-based cultures, and Also, the least amount is witnessed in cereals and beef. And for example, here you see leaf cabbage, and it is most prone to absorbing heavy metals. So these heavy metals are in the vegetables. They, as a result, may appear on the market, and they will be on the shelves of the shops, and as a result, they will influence the human health. And there were already cases, and this issue has been studied, that these heavy metals, for example, appeared in human body not only through the vegetables. For example, people who live in combat areas show presence of heavy metals in hair and in blood. So all this influences both health of our soils and human health. Now I would like to provide examples how the soils were polluted in specific communities. We have selected two communities. One is in Kharkiv region. This is Vilhe community. Now it is deoccupied and it is not far from Kharkiv. And another one is Sartany Hromada, a community in Donetsk region. It is occupied. The main methods we have used are satellite images. They were selected in April, May 2022 for Vilha community, and in March 2022 for Sartana community. We have also taken soil samples in order to analyze the chemical composition of soils. And the analysis presupposed 7 steps, which are now depicted in this slide. We shall not cover all of them, but some of them will be addressed. And one of them is identification of the impact factors. What impact factors were present in this or that community? And I'll tell you why these particular communities have been selected. One of the criteria for us was the part of agricultural lands within this community. So how big this part of agricultural land is, and the main impact factors were, for example, in Vilhe and Sartana community, where the thermobaric weapons, explosions, and the result of such explosions are fires. Here we see the levels of chemical pollutions. This is the approximate level of chemical pollutions. So here you see the most intensive areas for combat actions, the areas which have been mostly shelled, and the more intensive the shelling was, the higher chemical pollution was in this or that place. Here you do not see the slide, but for example, for Vilhe community, you see the results of chemical and physical analysis. So the thresholds were exceeded for cadmium, copper, and zinc. For Sartana community, the situation was approximately the same, and there was also exceeded figures for lead. And you see that it is 5 times higher or 7 times higher, and later these heavy metals may migrate into supply chains. Another factor was a complex evaluation of the damage level in these communities. And here we see 5 levels: the disastrous damage, high level, medium level damage. So in these communities, we have the disaster damage level, and each criteria of damage presupposes certain events or measures taken. So how this land may be used. For example, if the level of damage is more than 75%, then the usage criteria is cannot be used, and these lands should be conserved and should be excluded from those that are used by humans. If we are talking about specific communities and the influence on specific communities, we see that the disastrous damage areas should be conserved, but not only just preserved, they should be forested. This is the most optimal way of preserving them, so to ensure forestation on these lands. And for those lands which have damaged less than 75%, we may introduce some recultivation remediation means. There are a number of them, and they may be specifically chosen to the type of pollution. This is already the individual approach, and we have developed a number of tables with recultivation methodologies, what can be grown there and how much it can cost. For less damaged areas, or for those lands that have not been damaged, a cleaning of the territory is recommended. A similar situation is in the community. For example, here, preservation is also planned, but restoration is planned for the steppe territories. And also we plan agro-technical melioration and phytosanation. That means growing certain cultures, certain plants that will be able to absorb the pollutants from the soils. And if we get specifically to recommendations, what should be known to the agricultural producers. So the most painful issue is that there should be some restriction regarding land use, particularly of those which were mined, because such lands are very risky for human life or human health. After demining of the territories, it is important to understand that there should be full and comprehensive physical and chemical examination of these soils to evaluate and estimate physical and chemical impact and to identify those measures that will be used to restore these lands, because the pollution that was caused by warfare may be compared with the radioactive pollution in Chernobyl. But the fact that these heavy metals will migrate is also a negative point, and this issue is important for both agricultural producers and other actors. It is important to understand that these lands are safe, and later it will be necessary to again estimate all the areas according to the level of damage. For example, if the medium or low level damage is there, there should be recultivation. If these levels were intact, there should be some cleaning of the area. And we face a disastrous damage, these areas should be preserved. And we have already mentioned the highest level of flow, and we were thinking about the measures that will reduce it. So these are the recommendations to the agricultural producer, but at the national level, these recommendations should be more comprehensive, and we should think about the compensation mechanisms for the landowners, how the landowners might be compensated for the loss of certain land plots. Will it be financial compensation, or will it be compensation with another land plot? All these decisions should be made at the national level. And the first point is that there should be a national coordination committee established on restoration of the soil surface. Now, we already witnessed some synchronization between the national authorities and the public community and the institution. on planning certain actions on soil restoration. Then the national strategy on soil restoration should be developed, and the strategy should presuppose a number of measures, for example, constant environmental and geochemical monitoring of soils, cleaning of soils and demining, as well as some specific pilot projects. And it's difficult to control all these things. Therefore, every agricultural producer should understand that his or her land plot may be polluted, and all these things should be checked and controlled to ensure safety of the products. So these were the risks, and we are very grateful to you for listening to our results. If you are interested in the activity of our organization, I encourage you to join us and our projects on land restoration.
Ми існуємо з 17-го року,
So we
2017
have been founded in 2017. So EcoDia as an organization has been created from the other organization we created in 2017, and we have been implementing our activities in this direction starting from 2017. Do you have more questions, please? Victoria Pavlovska. I just wanted to ask you, should we, the producers of the ready-made product, also consider the chemical risks that the one that you have now seen in the soils after the military actions? Have you had this kind of research, or are you planning to conduct this kind of research? So you're talking about this migration to the as the residue to the products. We are considering that. We're considering that we would like to have a more thorough research on this topic, but that would be so very good if the producers would also track that as well, because we understand that the control on the state level right now is not very effective. So that would be very good if we would be able to control all of that. But right now, we haven't analyzed this topic into the depths. For example, which are the products are the most vulnerable? What are the products under the risk?
листові чи листові овочеві,
For
наприклад,
example, they're mostly about the vegetables or the leaf products, but that's all, it all, the horticulture, but it all depends. For every land plot, we're speaking about the different zones and the different soils and the different pollution. So there's all. So we have to understand it better. We have to have a better understanding of this problem. And if the enterprise will be able to adapt to this need and is going to conduct a certain control measures and to have this risk management approved as well, then it will be very good, because we understand that further on it might impact the Ukrainian reputation, the exports, products, what we're going to feed our people with. That's all that all has to be controlled. That all has to be controlled on the state level and on the level of the enterprise as well. So as a part of the civil society, we also wanted to control our capacity, but our capacities and our full force is not that significant, but we will try to do our best. What labs have you been collaborating with? We were talking about the soils and plants. When we were working, so when we implemented this project with scientists, the scientists, the one that's responsible for the geochemistry of the landscape, those are they have the laboratories in the National Academy of Science named after Semnenko. So they have been starting to research that in 2014, and they've started the research on the territory of the Donetsk and Lugansk region that are temporarily occupied. And they have already had the system established on how to research the soils. So at the base of this research institute in the framework of the National Academy of Science, we have conducted this research. More questions, please? There was the chemical pollutants that you have said. We're talking about the heavy metals and the leftovers of the heavy metals, the one that we have seen in the soil. So we've tracked the concentration of the heavy metal. So the cadmium and magnesium was about the chemical, but there was a specific chemical. So maybe there was about the radiological test, what are the other chemical dangers that you have outlined as a separate point? I cannot answer this question yet because the physics and chemical, we mostly focused on the hard metals as well, but maybe there were some others as well, but maybe they were not that significant. Maybe the results of this research have been significant. Maybe we haven't noted it down here, but we have mostly focused on whether this concentration of the hard metal is going to be on a higher level and the further migration of these residues of the hard metals in the product chain. Okay, no questions more. Thank you very much, Maria, for this very interesting report. And right now, let us get to the practical advice because we have Yulia Mironova and she's going to give us more information about how can we work with our soils not to lose the organic status. Good afternoon, and I will try to ask. The microphone might not be on. Yes, I think that. So I will try to be very, very brief and fast. I know that everyone is really tired and I'm the final speaker to close the day, so I will try to do my best and be very fast. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss with you is mostly not just about the low quality of the product and low yield, and I know that there's something that cannot be used for the organic products. I know that these are mostly the myth about the organic products, because around the population, among the people that we have surveyed, we have seen that this kind of a stereotype that people have. When we're asking people why you don't want to buy the organic products, people say that it's of low quality because they do not use the fungicides and they have the phytopathogens that have the toxins in it. So this product might be potentially dangerous. So they already have this stereotype, they already have this bias, and somebody has ingrained this bias into them. They keep on thinking like that. And the low yield, it's not about the final customer, it's mostly about the person who has never worked in the organic sector. That is kind of a bias, and this might be the bias that might be used why people do not want to use the biological products and crop protection and might do not want to switch to a safer methods of the land use. That's all that's not all true, and we can work in organic with high yields and with good results with high quality of products, and they do not need to spend a lot of money, as it's always been said, and in trying to work with plants for 1,000 times time. That's not all the truth. So we can intensify the organic production and we can make the organic production good with high level of yields to have the best of the organic products and not to harm the environment and to have the profits, something that we need to survive and something that we need to stimulate the additional organic production. So why do we have what we have, the low quality of the products and the low yield? First of all, when we're talking about the low concentration of nutrients in the soil, what do we have in the very beginning? For example, if we're using a small land lot, so we have the small land lot, we do not analyze the soil, we're starting to grow certain crops there without thinking that in order for a certain crop to survive, they need to have the nutrients in the soil. If they don't have enough nutrients in the soil for the specific species of the crop, they're not going to be growing there properly. So you have to choose the specific crops for the specific soil type, and you have to provide the analysis of the soil as well. And also, we have some quality problems when we do not have the control of the overall phytopathogens, especially when we're talking about the cereals. If we have the additional phyto diseases for the cereals, we know that there might be some toxins getting into that other harming substances that might cause diseases among people and animals. That's something that is really has a lot of impact, but you can use it when you are using the fungicide during the blossoming stage. But people sometimes do not think about that as well. What else is needed to be said? Speaking on the basis that has what we have. This is our basis, the one that we're working with, and what was giving us our yields is the soil. If we're not going to consider the soil properly, we're not going to receive the yields that we would like to have. What I wanted to say as well, that the soil is a living system, the system that lives and develops according to its own laws. We can divide the soil into the three main parts. So we have the solid phase, which was about the nutrient elements, the microorganisms. Then there's going to be also the gas phase and the solid. Why do we need to have a specific concentration between all of them, the balance between all of these phases? Because if you will not have enough density in the soil, and our microorganism will be able to develop properly, and they can also work with all of the nutrients in the, and there is also be with the nutrient elements in it. The liquid phase also can be divided into the organic and mineral. So organic part is about the humus itself. So this is the organic matter, the one that is responsible for the main fertility of the soils, and it's making 85%. Also, the leftovers of the plants around 10% and 5% of the soil and fuel flores. Those 5% plus the leftovers of the plants will give us 85% of humus after that. They'll give us 85% of the organic matter later. So that is why can actually give us the full structure of the organic matter, because the microbiota, the microorganism creating the organic matter, when they're coexist with the plants left over. So that is why Ukrainian microorganisms are creating the Ukrainian organic matter, Ukrainian humus, Ukrainian black earth, and we have to now preserve our microorganisms so they would work for our benefit. If we are going to lose them, they're not going to be working for us. We're not going to have our yields, and later on we might got some problems in the future. How can we understand that there's something wrong with the soil? As of now, in Ukraine, we have specialized labs who can analyze the structures of the soils, and they can identify the micro indicators, the phyto indicators as well, and to give you the answers of whether you can plant specific types of plants in your soils. As far as our company also has the applicable biotechnology institution, that is a research organization that is studying the soils and studying the bioproducts that we also offer for crop protection. We're constantly studying the microorganisms of the soils, the bacterial and microorganisms of that. We also have the biochemical lab that give us the opportunity to connect the specific microorganisms that you have with the nutritive elements of the soil, and to give a certain answer at least to what kind of a land using system would be the best for the soil, which one would be the most effective. Well, actually, what we have seen some good trends in the organic world, and on the other hand, there is a very bad tendencies as well. On the good side, in organic soils have a lot of organic matter, and as long as you use organic technology, the more organic matter you will have in the soil. There's more phosphorus and potassium, and usually the organic soils have it more. But there is a negative side of it. It's that we do not have enough nitrogen there. And the nitrogen is one of the most important components that are needed for our plants to be developed, to be continuing growing. What is very important for the soils as well, the soil requires the good amount of microorganisms in it. The more species in the ecosystem, the more resilient the ecosystem is. In this case, the organic ecosystem is more protected than the integrated. The integrated had most of the microorganisms are being killed off by the chemical fungicides, pesticides, no, so there's a lot of products that kill everything in the soils, and under some bad conditions, the plants in the integrated technologies that start to die off fast. Organic plants, because they have the microorganisms that are going to keep them growing, organic plants, they are holding on better under the bad conditions. So organic system will be more resilient. In the organic systems, we receive lesser yields, lower yields, but they are sustainable through the years. So in long term account, it's going to be a more sustainable technology, whatever that happens, whether you have a good year or worse year, the organic technology and the organic system is going to be more resilient. The one that we have also seen through the years. And also, what we also require, so we need to have a lot of microorganisms in the soils. We need to have more saprophytes than pathogens. We need to have the pathogens antagonists as well. So we need to have the pathogenous mushrooms that are going to be fighting the pathogenous elements that live in the soil. That would be the ideal soil for the plants and will give you most of the profits. If it's going to be then harmed, we might have some problems in the end. What is it that we can do with what we have? What can we do so that our organic technology would be better and would give us more profits? What can be done? We can use the allowed uh, fertilizers. We're talking about the manure. We're talking about the leftovers from the biogas stations. We have to know that we have to use, for example, the certified leftovers of the biogas production, and we have to understand that we're talking about the additional acidization of the soils, and we have to understand that it might not be used for all of the soils. You have to analyze the acidity of the soils before, and we have to understand that there might be the residues of the hard metals, so we have to consider that as well. The right work with the plant leftovers. Why is that important as well? In organic technology, when we are growing plants, we take the yield out of the soil and we do not turn it back. We do not return the plant matter. So we don't have enough potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen back to the soil. If, for example, in the integrated system, they have some certain fertilizer and there's some kind of a return into the system of the plants and inorganics production, we sometimes forget about that. The more sustainable enterprises would be if you are working both with plant and animal breeding, because this is giving you the opportunity to have a closed cycle. This is the best sustainable way of farming. I'm talking about the plant leftovers. So first of all, you can use them for the better production when you can use that with the help of the microorganism. And our company gives some of the products and some of the cooperative products that give you the opportunity to use the microorganism for that would be able to digest the digest the plant leftover better to create more organic matter in a faster pace. But we understand that you cannot return everything to the soils because we have already taken it as a yield and sold it to the final customer. The legumes should be introduced in your crop rotations, at least 20% of that, due to have more nitrogen in the soils. Of course, we have to understand that as a good prospect to use also the microbiotic products that can fixate, for example, the nitrogen in the soils. For example, they can create symbiotic relations with the crops, or they can also create additional agents, the one that can read in symbiosis with crops or legumes. It's important to use the microbiotic products, for example, for the support of the microsystem. It is better to do when you have analyzed your soils, and or at least you know that in crop rotations you've had some problems with the pathogenic cultures before, because usually in the organic soils there is more or less control situation than before. They already have these pathogenic antagonists, and you do not require additional destructive agents in the soil. So you have to know your soils and you have to act accordingly. What else I wanted to add, in what way our microorganisms are also connected to the MPK, as I've already has said. So we have a lot of good important elements that are needed to be returned as the plants leftovers so that the soils could also digest it. We need additional additional microorganism. For example, the nitrogen connecting organism, they can activate as nitrogen into the soil. So we have to understand that there's 550 because there's a lot of factors in the soils impacting that, and not in all of the soils those mechanisms can capture the nitrogen. It's important for us to understand so that we will be able to at least to understand in what way our microorganisms are going to behave in your soils. You can address our representatives. They will help you to identify which of the products would be best to use in your soils, because there's also the additional technologies that help you to capture more nitrogen in the soils. On potassium and phosphorus, as I've already have said, our soils are rich, so it's not a big problems in the organic systems, even though there's also have been seen, and this lack of this minerals can be improved. What is else important? That each of the plant requires certain number of nutrients. Some plants need more, some plants need less. When we have the agrochemical analysis of the soil, we know what we can grow in the specific soils. For example, if we have a nitrogen, the soils with a low level of nitrogen, we can grow legumes and they will increase the amount of nitrogen in the soils. But we have to understand that the legumes require a lot of phosphorus and potassium. In this case, you have to consider that as well, and you have to have a clear understanding and awareness of that. For example, when talking about the legumes crops, they're very good organic cultures that they use good organic technology growing. Then sometimes it's really bad for those crops when they have a lot of nitrogen then, but they really like the potassium and kalium, so potassium and phosphorus, so they will grow the the systematic approach is very important as well for this technology to work better and for us not to experiencing problems. I've already mentioned that the fertile soil is an important basis for our yield, but we need to also work with the nutrition of the soils as well. There are some microelements that are required for the soils, and we can, in a way, work with that during the vegetation period. And it is important to protect the soils against the illnesses and pests. It is very important for us to understand that we need to develop all of these four factors, because if one of these factors will be missed or omitted, we might experience problems. For example, protecting from the pests. If we have, for example, having providing from all of the illnesses, from the illnesses or from the past, and insects, they're also can, for example, infect the plants with the virus diseases or bacterioses. They will be really hard for us to fight this infection or illness, because the viruses and bacterioses can be really hard in treatment. Like viruses cannot be treated at all, but the main important problems was the insect itself. So if, for example, the bacteriosis you can fight with the biological products, we have the products that have been working, and I can give you an understanding in what way we can use it. But if you're going to use this product without the consultation, if you will use this crop protection without the consultation, it might not work because you haven't avoided, you haven't took down the insect itself. And I'm going to tell you, like, you have to work with this insecticide. You take down the insect, that is the reason. You'll take down the illness, and the problem will be resolved.
It's very important to consult the experts, and therefore our company has created special landing page. We provide the service of agronomic accompaniment or support. It is free of charge. It means you can fill in this blank, this form, and then we shall find the expert you need. We have mycologist, microbiologist, agricultural chemists that can give you expert consultations. We have experts in absolutely different fields, so we'll be able to answer any questions you have. We have experts who are certified according to organic standards. They can provide consultations regarding organic farming, and after our consultations, we prepare the individual action plan for each and every farm. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. For every specific farmer company, there is an individual solution, and there are certain factors influence success or favor of the enterprise. Certainly, we have our own products which are certified in organic industry, and we have 57 biological drugs certified for organic farming. And also we organize agronomic trainings. We organize a number of interesting events where we provide the information. And the final slide from me, but this is very interesting. Here at the bottom, you see the QR code, and this QR code sends you to our landing page. And at the bottom of our landing page, there is a form where you can apply for support. And you apply as an organic producer. And together with one of the initiatives, we introduced this particular support for organic producers. And this year we have decided to continue doing this. So we assist the organic producers to grow their products. We cannot do a lot, but at least partially we can help you with biological, for example, substances available in our company. You can fill in this form and get the package. Here you see that, for example, we have biofungicide, fungicide that protects the plants from a majority of diseases. We have bioinsecticide that provides protection from pests, humifriend that enhances nutrition, and also something that will keep it on the leaves. So we have prepared a minimum package of 8 package that will be useful for any culture, for any plant, as these particular products are universal. So you may fill in this blank and this form, and we shall send it back to you. That's everything from me. Thank you for attention. In case you have some questions, please, you may give me a call. Here you see my phone. I also provide consultations on organic farming. And if you give me a call, I'll be of assistance for you. Please don't hesitate to contact me. The consultations are free. Yulia really assists us a lot. She provides consultations on diseases of plants and organic farming and many other issues. Unfortunately, there is no mic. You fill in this request form. So this was the way we worked last year. But there is one condition that for every liter you actually pay 1 kopeck. But people who used this service last year know that we did it free of charge. This is the support program for organic farmers, for organic producers. Thank you very much, Yulia, for your presentation. Are there any other questions? Unfortunately, there is no mic. You have to work properly with this. A lot depends on technologies. For example, I am working in organic farming for many years, and I actually go to organic fields and I provide consultations for people working there. And it was my idea with these organic landings. And I was trying to provide scientific support to organic producers for them to be able to get higher yield higher harvest, better harvest, but you have to know how to do it. It's necessary to take consultations to make the analysis of the soil. There are different situations. For example, people planted blueberry, but they have forgotten about acidification, and in a couple of years, a person leaves organic industry, though a person was present there, and it's really a pity that such organic farms are lost. No, Mike. That's why Yulia has come up with the idea to provide agronomic support to the producers. Probably some more questions. There is no mic.
Він, в принципі, універсальний, але є
The product is universal, but definitely it has its own mechanism of action. Regarding vegetation, we have two types of insecticides. One is systemic and one is contact. So another one is, for example, is related to intestinal tract. So if it is eaten, the pest will die. Another one is more contact one. For example, if it is on a pest, the pest will die. Talking about grain storage facilities, there were some researches done. So far, we do not have a 100% effective solution. Maximum efficiency was 40%. It's really low, and we didn't come up with a solution for this. But we are trying to think about it. I know this is a huge problem, particularly now when the grain is stored for long periods. So we'll try to think about something. If we find this thing, we'll be able to give it to you.
Так, так. Я маю на увазі фумігацію з цими
I was talking about fumigation with these microorganisms. For them to be efficient, they should be somehow spread on this grain. And it's difficult to do it because you cannot spray all those insecticides on this grain. Fumigation is good, it works pretty well, but so far there is no solution. But we are on the way of trying to find a solution.
А ми стараємося, да, ми стараємося.
We are doing our best. We even try we work with agri holdings. We try to work with them for them to use organic products. And there is one more speaker who wanted to join us, Petro Romanenko. I'm really sorry. Please, you have the floor. You have 2 minutes. I present a young company, and actually the technology I'm going to tell you about was initiated about 30 years ago. Well, you know, the composition of soil, but nobody mentioned that there are some nitrogen elements related ones. We have the standards for our technology, and I will be able to answer all the questions. The compositions we make are based on using soil nitrogen fixing bacteria. I know that there is no cyanobacteria which are used. Nitrogen fixation is used all the time, but here we are talking about a different one. We use the solar energy and not the sugar and not the organic substances from soil. So well, our thing is actually the smallest one, and it is the one that gave birth to everything on this earth several million years ago. So when we studied algae in soil, we see that they actually stimulate growth of plants, and you see actually the soybeans. You see how the growth of corn is stimulated, particularly when our product is used. So here you see the product has a very expressive fungicide effect. Here you see the beetroot seeds, which died. The technology I'm talking about is an innovative one. There are no analogs in the world. We have won the startup competition, and we had the proposal to implement it in China with unlimited budget, but we have decided to implement it here in Ukraine. The fungicide effect is ensured by a new group of fungicide which have a wide range of action. They actually are friends with everything that is good for plants, and they may live in one, for example, jar, in one container for years. For example, when we take the watermelon of Ukrainian selection, so after he failed to grow watermelons on a demo field, we managed to recreate it, and he was really impressed. Here there is another example about soybeans. Here you see the cucumber plants in a big greenhouse. Here you see the boxes without our product and with our product. Here you see the key properties of our products. Not all of them, apart from the stimulation, energy, nitrogen fixation, they also preserve water in the soil. Our alga lives in very humid soil, so when there is no precipitation for a long period of time, alga takes this water into the soil, and when we manage to set the record of sunflower record in Ukraine, there was a special article published with specific examples of the enterprises and their successes. So when there was no precipitation in Mykolaiv region, and lots of fields actually died. At our field, we got 37 centers from of products. So the worms, the rainworms appear, and actually the technicians, the agronomists are really surprised that the soils are very soft, the aeration is much better. There is also a property of being antistressant for the plant, and it provides metabolites to the plant. And in this liquid, you can see 17 amino acids of natural origin. They protect the plant from stress, and Also, there is a bouquet of phytohormones. Only some of them are listed here, and they stimulate the growth of plants. Fungicides, fungicide, an innovative one, and also there are polysaccharides that are transformed into cultural liquid. There are several examples of how it was used in the fields. In labs, everything looks fine, but in the fields, the situation may be different. I would like to stress here the activity of seed company Corona. They used it and they are really impressed with the results. So even some small farming enterprises with gardens also used our product and actually were really impressed with the results. The holding with the largest beetroot fields were also impressed. They had 200 kilograms plus of sugar from a hectare. And for example, there was also a case in Vinnytsia region, 600 kilograms plus from each hectare. And we have all the documents confirming the situation. For example, the sunflower harvest was better 22%. There were no diseases, and the oil factor was higher. Thank you for your attention. And I kindly ask you to watch very short video. What happens for 6 days? What happens to the seed of wheat? So what happens for 6 days, and it will be actually accelerated. So you will see it in a couple of minutes. And they say that during the first hours, the whole idea of the future harvest is formed. There is special phyto gel, and we were trying to make a video of the way the seeds were growing. And you see that our product was used. If you pay attention to the way the roots are developing, it seems incredible, but we have had hundreds of cases. You see also the nice here, but you see very quick development of the root system, and drying is already not very scary. And then the stems grow.
Масштаби в поля, тому що бункер всьому. І крім того, що хотілося зауважити, крім
I was really worried when basically we moved from this for the overall professional industrial plants because we only thought about increasing of the yield, and I've thought about this increase of the oil qualities of the sunflowers. But what is the most important, that the class level, the wheat has also grown when we were working on these technologies. We have included the chlorophyll concentration. The plants become dark green and very beautiful. And this is the final slide. You can make a photo and you can read the article. The whole technology has been introduced there in our serial magazine. So it will be uploaded right now. Thank you for your attention. So if you have any additional questions, I can answer those. I will just show you our brochures and that will be it. Yes, thank you very much. It's just that I'm very greedy towards the information that is really needed by the sector. So for everyone who has been here, they can hear it straight away. If you're not here, then you can listen to this in the video. We have this information available and we have to provide the access to this information as well. So Victoria, we're going to end this session about the soils. And maybe, then maybe just to sum up. Well, yes, well, maybe I would like just to sum up and remind you our loyalty program and the support for the organic producers. And I hope that you will use this opportunity also to collaborate with us, and I hope that will be also an important addition for your activities as well. Yes, so we have now reached the end of our conference. For everyone who is here with us in the room and everyone who is in the room close to us. So thank you very much. We're really, really grateful for all of it. I hope that the day has been useful for all of you. And thank you very much for joining us. Physically, we have been online for a longer period of time. The organic sector didn't have this kind of a big event for a longer period of time, but we are here. We know the challenges that we have. We know that we will be able to make it. And we have my organizational committee, Anastasia here, the people who have survived till the end. We know that we have planned a couple of panels to provide you the free microphone with the announcements. I do not know if you're able to listen to somebody else. I believe that maybe no, but if there's something that some people would like to say, which is very important, something that is very important that will be useful for others, I think that we can do that. You can think about that. So, Anastasia, a couple of the final words from your side. From the very beginning, we have thanked Ukrainian armed forces for giving us the opportunity to have these meetings created, to have this event conducted. By the end of this event, I want to thank Olana for organizing it. I really wanted to thank her because this is on the Olana's shoulders that this beautiful woman has carried the organic community overall. So we are united, connected by you. You're doing very important things when you're getting people together in 3 weeks, and you actually for giving everyone the opportunity to see each other, to exchange their experience, to talk about what they've did. So thank you very much, Olana, for that. Thank you very much. And I do want to wish to all of us as businesses to build the capacity of our union, why it is important. You know, I don't want to sound banal, but just yesterday I had this opportunity to talk to the people who represent the London Commercial Chamber, and they've told me a very important moment, and they said, you want to go to the UK market, that's okay, but the entry point to that is going through the associations. You have to meet the associations, you have to know the people, you have to become friend with the professional associations, and then we'll give you the opportunity to get to know the organic sector in the UK as well. So I do believe that all of those cool things that we have spoken about, the marketing, creating of the trend, I do really want the organic Ukraine to be this main trend that the businesses will talk to, that businesses will go to. And I do hope that we will become the voice of this union and we will be even stronger and powerful because there's a lot of challenges that are going to be ahead of us. And it is only about us to restore our country and to rebuild our country. And I do believe that we have to get together and understand it for ourselves that there's no other country that we have. We don't have any other desires. We want to stay here. We want to work for the benefit of Ukraine and we want to be useful for Ukraine. And we have a lot of tasks, not only to develop our own businesses, but to keep on developing Ukraine for the people who are going to be back from the war. We are supporting the economy, we're supporting the life, the adaptation of the people who are going to be back after the war, the life of the children here in this country. So that is why we have to build our own resilience. We have to be active. We have to build the capacities of our unions, and we have to get together, united by the joint challenges. Let us get together. There's no things that can divide us, but there's a lot of things that we can work together on. So thank you. Thank you very much. I know that everyone is already tired, but I am tired already. Thank you very much for all of the support. You know, I have been working in the organic sector for a longer period of time, but can never remember all of the projects by names, but I'm really, really grateful for everyone for supporting us and for doing everything that you do for our union, for our associations. I wanted to thank the Ministry of Agriculture. I wanted to thank our friends. I wanted to thank all of the participants that have been the active listeners today. And I hope that all of us will have something useful from our event today. And this is something that will help us to be better tomorrow. Thank you. And I wanted to thank on behalf of the Swiss-Ukrainian joint program QFTP. I wanted to thank first of all the armed forces of Ukraine, and I've also wanted to thank all of you for everyone for holding back the economical front, for everyone who's working in the information frontline as well. And I wanted to thank the military force of Ukraine because, like, basically, due to all of the challenges, all of the problems, the organic Ukraine has been collecting all of us, gathering all of us, so that we were able to discuss all of those ideas, all of those troubles and challenges we have, and to find the joint solution. And I want to wish Organic Ukraine to make it as it was before, annually, so that we would not skip months or years without that. Because really, the Organic Ukraine Congress is a platform for the political dialogue on the national level. And it's important so that the government and the businesses would have a platform to talk to one another, so that the international technical assistant would also be able to listen to what are the needs, what are the desires for the sector. For example, I wanted to inform you that our technical aid program will be ended in June this year, but we know that our developing partner, the Swiss Confederation, is going to prolong the program for maybe 3 or 4 next years. We are under negotiations right now, but I wanted to tell you that this Congress was very important for us information-wise, because we have had the needs, the ideas, the potential solutions, and we're going to have uh, our our meeting tomorrow. And I know that some of you have already filled in our questionnaire, and we have listened to you today during our discussion, and we're going to have a live discussion tomorrow, and we're going to have the meeting with the Ministry of Agricultural Policy and Food Services of Ukraine as the two main beneficiaries of our program. We're going to be talking to them so that we will have everything settled, so that starting from the 1st of July, we would continue our project successfully. Thank you very much. So yes, so that's a very good example for us. It means that the Congress 2024 is going to be there, because we do have the first support. That's very important. And the most important is who is going to have with us in the room. So we're going to say goodbye for a year, but basically we're going to keep in touch for sure. Thank you very much for your attention today. And I would also like to invite everyone to the room that you have been multiple times already today. Please have a glass of wine to celebrate the end of our today's conference, please.